You gotta just chill out, man.
Pittsburgh Steeler fans, welcome back to another episode of the Scho Bro Show. This is Steel Curtain Network editor Dave Schofield coming at you Tuesday night, a little bit after 9 p.m. Where else as a Steelers fan would you rather be? We are not even 24 hours removed from the Steelers' victory. And with me, as always, except when he's not, is my big brother, Rich. Rich, how are you feeling now, not even 24 hours later, about that victory?
We will take it a deep breath for that sweet smell of victory. Because what better way to go into your bye than on a victory?
Yes, and there's a lot of things to take away from this game because I kept trying to warn people. I didn't stumble across the numbers until I was getting ready to do last-minute thoughts. And that's when I realized, wait a second, I'm trying to look at the Giants. I'm like, and then I was looking back to see what's their trends. Oh, they've lost, 2 in a row, or blah blah blah. I try to do that just as a little thing as I intro the show, and I'm like, man, they're all over the place with how much points they score. Then I realized that little @ symbol on their schedule, how important it was that they actually score pretty decently on the road. They just are terrible at home. And I started to look at it. I'm like, my goodness, if they wouldn't have lost their kicker in Washington, which cost them no less than 5 points, assuming he would have hit a 40-yard field goal, and they lost by 3. And I'm just like, whoa, this is a different thing. And I will say this right now. I don't know what Steelers fans are saying, like, because some of them, once again, they didn't win by enough. Well, they covered the spread against the team they were supposed to beat. They did what they needed to do. And I'll be honest with you, the Giants didn't look bad.
No, they did not.
Giants, especially their running attack. Now, was it the good running attack that made the Steelers' defense look bad? Maybe. Was it that the Steelers' defense was not having a very good night stopping the run? Maybe. Was it probably a little bit of both? Most likely. But how nice is it to get a win when you're constantly be like, oh, man, here we go again, have to settle for a field goal. Not just 4 times into the red zone, but even twice when they were goal to go. Every time it was a field goal. So there's things that can be frustrating, but you're like, you know what? In a game where you didn't quite come through in all ways, you still managed to get a win. That's still a pretty good feeling, isn't it?
Yeah, you came through in enough ways.
Yeah.
Came through in enough ways to get the win. Which, again, difference between 6-2 and 5-3 going into the bye, to me, is just huge.
Yeah.
Of course, it didn't hurt any after seeing the Ravens lose.
Well, I mean, that just goes to show that it doesn't matter how much you're favored by. You can still lose a game. I mean, even if the only way the Steelers have a worse loss this past week, have the worst loss in the AFC North would have been if they would have gotten blown out, because a different team that was favored by more points lost. So you can take solace in that. And honestly, the reason you do is because those games happen on a different day. It's not all the time. I mean, we kind of have another opportunity this weekend. I don't know that you'll get the same results. But when you're watching AFC North games on days that the Steelers don't even play at all, it just takes – you take it in just a little bit differently. So, to me, the offense did a fantastic job of moving the ball down the field. I thought they were pretty dynamic and everything else. They just couldn't finish. We've seen this before, and we've also seen them make it a little bit better at times. So there's hope, but they came up short. The defense was able to take the ball away the last 2 times they were on the field. but they struggled with stopping the run. They hadn't given up 150 yards rushing since last year, which they did in the playoff game. But that was the most they've given up this year. So it's easy to say that the Steelers did not play as good as they could or as good as they had been playing, yet they still managed to, you could say, well, did they squeak by? Nah, squeaking by would have been giving up the touchdown, the 2-point conversion, and having to win in overtime. That would have been squeaking by. But all in all, I like that there's still stuff they could build on, but yet you win along the way as you try to get better.
Yeah, some things I look at from that game that you really want to stop and think about. It really just came down to that red zone efficiency.
Yeah.
If the Steelers take 2 of those red zone trips, well, let's just say if the 2 touchdowns to George Pickens end up being touchdowns and not field goals, what a huge difference in that game.
Yeah, you could spin this a lot of different ways. You could say, oh my goodness, 8 more points if both of those touchdowns stand. But then you could also say, oh, well, another 4 more points to the Giants if they're stood. Although I still think he would have gotten in. But yeah, Dante, we'll talk about Deontay Johnson a little bit. Dante Jackson made a business decision with his bum shoulder that he wasn't going to try to stop a tight end on the goal line when he already saw that there were flags down in the backfield.
Right.
So, but then you could also say, well, but the Steelers also needed a special teams play. You know what? They've emphasized special teams. You remember talking about special teams before the season started and the whole thing and the new kickoff and everything else and the Steelers. I'm like, maybe I might have talked about it a little bit more on Pittsburgh Standard Time, but we mentioned it as well, that the biggest thing you needed from the special teams was for it to not be a negative. Don't have special teams be a negative and something that where you were a little bit positive on offense, a little bit positive on defense, but the negative you had on special teams caused you to lose the game. You can't afford that. But my goodness, now the Steelers, crazy positives in special teams.
Crazy positives in special teams. And I find it quite hilarious that after my worthless 2 cents article ran on Steel Curtain Network, the thing in there that I had softened on was Coach Smith and the special teams. And I talked about how great they've been doing. And I said, really, the only thing missing from the special teams resume this year is a touchdown.
There it was.
And the next game, they got a touchdown.
There it was. So before we go on, we've got a couple super chats here. It says I have 2, but I'm trying to figure out.
That's because the other one just popped.
Okay, there we go. So we'll hit the first one. I'm sorry, Mean Green, that says don't even mention this, but when someone puts it in a super chat, I've got to bring it up. Sean Manahan, $5 in the tip jar. Thank you. Says thoughts on Deontay Johnson headed to Ratbirds. What? Did you watch that game on Sunday?
What game?
The
Ratbirds?
Yeah.
No.
Cleveland, Baltimore. I was in a pumpkin patch, but I was watching Red Zone on my phone the entire time. I was the chauffeur. I was just there to make sure everyone was good. So I was able to not miss football, but I couldn't do my quad box on the phone. You just can't see it as well, which I could do with Sunday Ticket. So instead, I just did Red Zone. So I saw a good bit of it, lots of highlights. But honestly, they're adding more wide receivers. Where they're hurting is their defense is not good.
Yeah, their defense is not very good.
Their defense is not good. But you know what? We'll be talking about them in a few weeks when the Steelers go to face them. So for now, you know what? It's not like the Steelers could have traded for him anyway. There's NFL rules prohibit it. I think you have to wait 2 years before you can trade for a player that you traded away. Is the way that works.
All right. Simple. My thoughts on Deontay Johnson headed to the Ratbirds.
But they are who we thought they were.
There you go.
All right.
That's simple.
So,
they were.
Yeah, and I mean, honestly, he didn't play last week for Carolina. He was a rental player anyway, and the fact that they want to ship him out I saw someone put a post like that out on X. They're like, he's your leading receiver and you want to get rid of him after only 7 games. That speaks a lot to the player. So I'm hoping Deontay Johnson, it could, sometimes it's one of those things that it's addition through subtraction. Maybe with the Ravens, that can be subtraction through addition. That's all I can hope for. But our other super chat comes from Afton Ford, $2 in the tip jar. Thank you, Afton. We all have a show next week?
Absolutely.
Of course we're going to have a show next week. We're not going anywhere. The only shows you're going to be missing from Steel Curd Network are ones specifically about games. Like I don't plan on having a last minute thoughts unless we need something to fill in there. And I do something different. We haven't talked about that far because, my goodness, we're not even 24 hours past the last game. There's obviously not going to be a post-game show because there's no game. There'll still be a Steelers preview both weeks. We'll do all those. Now, I will warn you all, look for this week's Steelers preview to go very, very early because it is October 31st, and because we are all guys that have kids, we will be out venturing into our neighborhoods that evening for various things in family time. So although I did like this, I missed it. Where'd it go? I lost it. Here we go. Captain Underpants said, I heard we're 10-point favorites against the bye.
Oh,
now,
hold on. Here, this was Afton. What she meant. She meant because it's election night.
Oh, really?
Do we care?
I mean,
we don't care.
It's not.
We're gonna have a show.
It's not keeping me. I mean, I'm going to vote earlier in the day, so that's all I have to do is worry about getting that done. So I'll the polls in my area, the polls will be closed by that time. So yeah. Well, I'm trying to figure out what they're saying. Oh, they're talking about candy. Okay, I got you. Where John S. says Badger didn't take just one as a youngster. Why'd you bring that one up?
I didn't know that. I actually didn't bring that one up. I wasn't even over on the page.
I hadn't scrolled that far yet.
No, what I'm saying is I pulled Afton's up and then I wasn't even.
Oh, yeah. I don't know. That's okay.
I was on a totally different tab.
I had to try to put it in context. So, yeah, let's get into this. Well, first of all, there was some news. The Steelers had some roster moves. They released outside linebacker Ade Ogundeji, I think I'm trying to get the name pronounced right again. He's been on and off the roster. They cleared 2 places off the practice squad. I have a feeling he's coming back. I have a feeling Shamplin's coming back. Steelers are at 51. Cam Sutton was reinstated. They have a waiver for him until next Monday that he doesn't count against the 53. People were like, "Oh, they're clearing spots for a trade." No, they don't need to clear spots for a trade. You can clear the spots when you make the trade. They're to me, more than anything, they're probably doing right by players if they know that they have players like Dylan Cook, Cam Sutton, possibly Tyler Medikevich, players like that are coming back, that they're going to need the roster spots. One, if you're going to try to get them to your practice squad, give them your practice squad. The only other thing that you could do to do right by the players if you kept them through the bye, but then you've got to pay them that salary, the greater salary, which would be nice to do for them. But at the same time, if they want to go on to other places, you want to allow them to go on and do that as well. So that's really about it for news. So let's just keep talking about the game, bro.
It was a game. I started to relax and then didn't get to relax, but I was still okay. It was still not, break out the Pepto game.
No. I tell you, when they went up 14 points, I thought, okay, here you go. Here it is. And then the defense just let them run. Would that take 4 or 5 plays on the next drive?
I think it was 5 plays.
Yeah. It did not take long. Now, when you bust it from 45 yards out, that kind of helps. But
but still, it was just like, really, you start. We all started to relax, and you all do this to us. Come on now.
Yeah.
But then there was, after the touchdown, there was the what the heck was that play from the Giants? On the
Oh, yeah.
two-point conversion.
We'll get to that in a second. So that whole last drive was not good. And what's so sad is it was a renegade drive.
I know.
They play renegade.
Ruined a perfectly good. I can hear Pittsburgh now. They ruined a perfectly good renegade.
Yeah, you're up 14 points. You go out there, you make the stop. You had to play renegade there because if the game gets more out of hand, it's going to be even more worthless. So you make the stop there, and it's all good. But what do? That was the one blemish of the night. I think we're so amped up over the good special teams, of the punt return, of the 4-for-4 field goals, all that stuff. That was the blemish on the night for the special teams, is that they let them return it out to the 45-yard line.
Yep.
So after renegade, they give us the punt return,
the kick return
out to the 45, kickoff return. Sorry. Yeah, and I mean, the Giants even had a 10-yard penalty in there with all that, and it didn't matter. They still managed to go get their only touchdown of the game. Now, that 2-point conversion, that was interesting, wasn't it?
Yeah. I didn't get to see today. Would have liked to heard what was talked about on the Pat McAfee show with that, because that reminded me of that one botched Colts. Play, but
why? Yeah, well, with the Colts, when it's one of those things of why in the world would you snap the ball? You don't snap the ball to the player that's right there when you're outnumbered like 3-1. You just don't do that. If anything, you got to snap it back to someone deeper to then throw it where the players aren't. But on this one, it's interesting. They wanted to run it quick because they thought they caught the Steelers off guard, but they didn't catch Alex Highsmith off guard. They caught their own offensive guys who had to look at the ball to see if it was snapped. And Highsmith sees him snap the ball, and he's like, "I'm not waiting. I'm going to get it." And he did.
Actually,
that was a good heads up play.
Not just that. Here's what it looked like on that play. So I think it was an option play. Mm-hmm. Okay. So if you look, there was a signal that happened just a second or two before the ball was snapped. Okay. I think the guys on the outside thought it was going to be a run. The ball wasn't coming to the outside. I think the signal was that the ball then was going to go to the outside. The guys on the outside weren't expecting the play, which is why they didn't move.
Yeah.
And then it turns out they were doing the play. It was like some guys were heated too. It looked like they really had botched that badly.
I'll be honest with you. When I was in high school, we ran a similar muddle huddle for our extra points, where you come up to the ball, you send out most of your offensive linemen way out to the side, put a receiver behind them. You got to have eligibles. You got to have it lined up right. We would do it. If teams didn't come out and cover you out there, you snap the ball, you threw it over, and we plow into the end zone for the 2-point conversion. If they don't have enough over, we had our running back that was deep on it, that would then just take the snap. There were times there was no one on the other side of the field. He just looked at the guys there and he's like, "Am I faster than them?" If he was faster than them, he just took the snap and headed for the other pylon. If nobody was outside of where things were, so you needed to keep someone outside. And if we did, they made a verbal call that we knew what was happening, and one of the verbal calls was to then run over and line up to just kick it. So obviously they weren't going to kick it here. They didn't have a kicker on the field, but there was supposed to probably be some sort of call to let them know, were they keeping the ball there? Were they throwing it out to the side? What, was there,
you
one
go
of
back
those
and look at it. There was,
yeah.
You saw so what did they have? A center and 2 guards type lined up in there. The one guard was making motions. There were signals that were going on. He was back behind himself, back behind making signals. I don't know if a signal wasn't caught. I don't know if signals got crossed up, but boy, that was ugly. And thank you, Alex Highsmith, for making sure that didn't happen.
Yeah, that was one of the more quote unquote Giants plays of the game. But that looked like the Giants from the week before when they were just awful against the Eagles. That one just seemed like you kind of just overthought it, you know. And I'll be honest with you, the commentators all night were awful. They got on my nerves, just with various different things with Aikman and Buck. But not that they're bad, but they were just got on my nerves last night with a lot of different things. Yeah.
Hey! Just remember one thing: it wasn't Chris Collinsworth.
Yes. Well, I mean, and honestly, he can be fine at times. He doesn't, and it's not like they were dumb. It's just they kept going on about things that drove me nuts. We'll get to another one in a little bit, but that they're like it was the right play. I mean, it's the analytics call to go for two there, because if you get it, then all you have to do is kick an extra. You know, the law of averages are you get your 2-point conversion about half the time. Well, if you go for it the first time and you don't get it, then if you get it half the time, you still have a chance to get it the next time. If you get it on the first one, then the next one you don't have to go for it. You can kick it. It's kind of, I don't know, it's kind of like gambling and everything else. If you place two bets, you can end up even. But if you win the first bet, you even bother making the second bet. So, but once they blew up that play, I was breathing a little bit easier on that one, because the 8-point lead really, really did help push it to 11, then gave up another field goal. But let's go ahead and break before we get into a little bit more of this stuff. I know we've got another super chat. We'll get to that right after the break. You all right if we do that?
That's fine with me.
All right, and then we'll just kind of open it up into various other things that we wanted to talk about here, because we honestly haven't even talked about the topic of needing to fan the flames of their hot start. So if you're with us here on Facebook, YouTube, X, we're not going anywhere. If you're with us here on the audio side, stick around. We'll be right back after these messages. All right, Steelers fan, hopefully we're relaxed and we don't worry, because honestly, regardless of how the game's played out, if you just woke up from your 2-month nap and found out, hey, the Steelers are 6-2 heading into their bye week, they won the last 3, I think you'd say, I'll take it. Let's roll into this. Let's make some noise here in 2024. Now, there's still work to be done. Obviously, there is.
Obviously.
So let's go ahead and knock out the super chat. Okay, this is from Youngin Woodburn. He says, Dave, can you stat geek? Well, that show doesn't exist anymore, but still, percentage of TDs we've gotten after Pickens gets the long ball into the red zone. So if he doesn't get the TD, it seems like we never get it. It feels that way. I don't even know how I would look that up. But that is kind of true. They throw the long ball to Pickens, and he can't. They never showed a good replay if he really stepped out at the 10 or the 3 where they originally had it.
I thought he originally stepped out at the 10. Watching the play live, I thought he'd stepped out at the 10. They showed a replay. It was a weak replay, but if you had to be really quick, because it was really just one little spot where you could see. But I'm pretty sure he had stepped out at the 10.
Yeah. So, but I mean, they just didn't really show it. There was a lot of things that were kind of like, what are they doing between the broadcast, between the officials, between the other thing else? I got annoyed by Troy Aikman going on and on and on about that illegal shift call that quote unquote that was the one that quote unquote cost them the touchdown by the Giants.
Okay.
Well, they never showed a good replay. They never showed a replay from the beginning of the play. They kept showing him, and they're like, well, he doesn't have to reset. I'm like, you've got to see what happens after they break the huddle. So during the commercial, I'm like, I don't want to hear Aikman whine about this anymore. I want to know for sure. I went back, I rewound it on my TV, watched the play from the beginning, and as he comes to the line of scrimmage, I'm like, oh, he never actually gets set, which you don't have to when you move if you get set again before they snap it. You either have to get set before you move or get set after you move at some point. And he never got set.
At some point, when you break the huddle before the snap of the ball, you have to be set.
But they're getting all upset about it when they're showing replays that didn't even show that he didn't get set. And I'm like, I hope I don't have to hear about this anymore. So I fast forward. What happens as soon as they come out of commercial? They show it from the beginning and they explain it. All right, Troy, here's what's going on. Well, he didn't like it, but he didn't like it because he had already, kind of taken a stance on the whole thing. But before we get into other stuff, what's your thoughts on that Pickens non-touchdown?
Where he went 2 feet, but it was the same foot?
Yes.
Yeah, that'll be in off-season discussions probably. That's probably exactly, yeah. And the discussion will be, should something like that then, yeah. Does 2 feet, even if it's the same foot, count, yeah, as in?
Yeah, because if it's 2 feet, does it have to be 2 different feet? If it is, why don't you just say both feet? It's not like somebody has 3 feet that you got to worry about 2 of the 3 or anything like that.
You never know. It could come along at some point.
Yeah. So that's I don't have the exact phrasing of the rule, but apparently people that understand it. What's crazy is how many people actually knew that rule. I know plenty of people that are really good with the rules, and they're like, yeah, I didn't know that rule. And then they did not clarify at all when they took the touchdown away. Based on the way the official said it on the field, it did seem like that it was a conference by the officials. And they decided to change the ruling on the field themselves of what the official ruling on the field was that you would have to replay. Not that it was an expedited review. So that's why Tomlin threw the challenge flag, because every indication was that it came because they didn't really say it. They didn't honestly. I don't think he wanted to get him, because he didn't want to get fined. He's like, there wasn't much clarity as the way that he said it. They said it wrong. Go back and watch it. They said it wrong. If I'm recalling correctly, I don't know. I'm going on just a couple hours of sleep, so I'm really struggling. So they didn't say that after I don't know that they said after reviewing the play, or if they said, because how many times do we see a conference of officials that then they do it a lot of times when they let the play go. And they meet and they said the ruling on the field is that it was an incomplete pass, not that it was a fumble by the quarterback. That's what it seemed like. So, yeah.
I don't know. Just, I'd say that it could be the title of John Madden's new book if Madden was still alive and going to write a book, since his first book was 1 knee equals 2 feet.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So. It's just
what's crazy about that, because of how that whole thing played out. If you go back and look, I mean, good gracious, look where George Pickens was in the end zone when he caught that ball.
He was 4 feet from the line.
More than 4.
Yeah. No, I'm just saying when his first foot hit.
His first foot came down. He was a solid 3 yards inside, at least, which is about 12 feet. He was way inside the back line. Oh yeah, dude, he falls.
Okay,
listen, when the first foot hits, when he first hits down,
I could see.
Okay, then he hops. Then he hops, goes in that hop goes several feet.
I heard 9, and I was thinking 9 yards. I'm like, no way. But no, 3 yards. I could give you 3 yards.
9 feet. 9 feet.
I would have put it more around 5. That's why I rounded down to 4. But I'm not gonna. Yeah,
like
that could very well be it.
Dave.
Yep.
it was still almost a touchdown because his butt still almost hit in bounds.
Still landed in bounds. And there was someone on the website that's SteelCareNetwork.com, and the Winners and Looters article was talking about how Pickens was ultimately a loser because that was an awful play on his part to not get 2 feet down.
He got crushed
and held on to the ball.
Like he's folded.
Making the catch. He is not thinking about staying in bounds because he's nowhere close to the out of bounds.
Right. He got folded in half basically, and held on to the ball.
Yeah.
Just unfortunate because of how he got the direction he was coming in. How he got hit is what had the same foot hit twice versus his body being turned slightly different would have allowed the other foot to then come down, and then it would have been a touchdown. So, Dave, you could do a whole article on this. I mean, this is physics. Yeah. This is right up your alley.
Yeah, because, normally what they say is any body part other than a foot or a hand equals 2 feet. A hand does not equal 2 feet, but an elbow does.
Now, but see, here's the question: is it
a knee, a hip, a shin?
Is it 2 feet or is it both feet? See,
and
I think in the rule book things go back and forth between the verbiage, and I think that in itself is confusing.
I think the way they need to do to be consistent is it should be. Because think about it. It's really 1 foot plus one other. Once you get 1 foot, then a hand counts as a second foot or any other body part. The only way. So in other words, this is actually a special circumstance. It's the only way you can have two things hit down in bounds and have it not be considered in bounds is if it's the same thing twice. If you came down with your hand and then your hand again, while the rest of your body was out, like if you're in midair, that would be weird. I'd never imagined happening, but watch football for 20 years and we'll see it.
Somebody will jump and get submarined and their handle hit.
Touch the ground, and they'll bring it up off the ground, and it'll be that next hand, or like they're on top of another player, their hand touches down, they get popped up in the air, and they touch down again, and it's the same hand. There's enough crazy stuff's happened. We'll see that in our lifetime if we live long enough, hopefully. So, and then with like so many rules, basically they come about. You could name so many rules after players. They kind of do. They have the Hines Ward rule because of the way he was blocking as a wide receiver. They have the Mel Blount rule with being able to mug, the rules that they implement. You can name them after a player that used to. My goodness, it was pretty much the James Harrison rule when it came to just hitting a quarterback really hard that you're not allowed to do anymore. This could be the George Pickens rule. That's the Des Bryant rule from remember with the whole
catch not a catch. Yep,
a catch is not a catch. It's funny. I was watching that game live, and when they did that, I'm like, I don't think that's a catch by the rule. And it's everyone who saw that thought it was a catch, not me. When I saw it, I'm like, by the rule, I'm like, that should be a catch. Hey. But by the rule, I don't think that's going to be a catch.
And Dave, just remember.
The Jesse James rule.
Jesse James caught that ball.
Yeah. So I don't care if they changed the rule or not. That was the rule at the time. That's kind of how you have to look at it. We look back at the immaculate reception, and you have to look at whether that was a legal play or not based on the rule at the time, where if a forward pass touches an offensive player, a different player can't catch it.
Yeah, so Youngin brings up, says, I'm fine with 2 feet. Both feet being the rule, not double tap 1 foot. I'm okay with that too, as long as that's clear.
There's something that's been bothering me that they've been doing with the NFL that I don't think is very clear. And I think they've actually been going against what the rule actually says. And that is they talk about a toe tap. A toe tap counts as a foot. But in order to be a toe tap, your toe has to hit and come off the ground. You can't just put your toe and then have your foot continue onto the ground. And how many times have we seen the toe hit inbounds, not come off the ground, but in the continuation of it, the heel come down out of bounds, and they call it inbounds. That's not what the rule says.
That was yeah. I've still got the picture on my phone from that one I took last year where they gave Puka Nakua that catch against us.
Yeah.
It shouldn't have been.
That shouldn't have been a catch. Now, if his toe would have hit the ground, come up, and then he hit the out of bounds, that's a toe tap. But if your toe is in contact, it's not a toe tap if the rest of the foot continues to come down. The entire foot has to come down. People argue with me in the live chat and everything else. I'm like, no, just imagine you were at the
if a player is there, would it work the other way around?
Yeah.
Would it work?
If your heel went down? Yeah.
If your heel went down, do you wait and see if the toes come down? You wait and see if the toes come down. Should work the same way going the other direction.
And if your heel hits the ground and you lift up off the ground and then hit out of bounds with your foot, it's good.
That's right.
No different than the toes.
That's right. So it's just, yeah.
Yeah. But the thing is, it's so crazy because of how gifted these athletes are that these crazy situations come up. And you can't foresee. I mean, I don't know if that's ever happened where they've had to make this specific rule before. I'd love to see if this has happened before in the NFL, and that's why they have specifically know the rule. That a player had the same foot hit twice, but not a different body part. That was crazy. So anyway, let's get back to the other stuff for the Steelers game. That was kind of fun to talk about and break down. So what else do you want to say about this?
About this game? Look, I'll bring it up again because I brought it up after the game last week against the Jets, and then I see some continuation of some things into the Giants game, which is what I really like to see. Something going that I like the looks of, and seeing it a second week in a row makes me think it's stuff we're going to see to continue. That is the play action. Play action's working great right now. I always feel like Russell Wilson is I don't want to say a master, but a magician type when it comes to play action. He really understands the use of it, so he takes it very seriously. He sees the edge that it can give him, so he becomes a student of that part of the game because he understands what he can gain from it. Which, again, I think is another thing that really the past 2 weeks has helped Najee as well. I mean, first of all, you got to have decent run to have play action, but if you're going play action, some of those runs sometimes then, guys wait up because they think you might be passing it. Gives Najee an extra step somewhere, So that's really good. So it was really good to see that. Good to see the continued use of throwing the ball downfield with Russell Wilson. All
these things you're saying are things that really go under the title of the Steelers need to fan the flames of their hot start. You're bringing up some really good stuff to say.
Yes.
This is where they need to keep going.
Yes. The other thing that was cool to see from Russ the other night was because I was sitting there I actually was only home to watch the game for a quarter and a half. So, because my wife had surgery yesterday. So, we were there, surgery ran, things got late getting home. But I'm sitting here watching.
You literally did not get home from the hospital until then. So, there's nothing you can do about that.
Right. So, anyway, I'm sitting there with Warren, and the touchdown pass to CA3, I think it was that one. It was going that direction at least, where Russ threw it on a laser. It was like
that wasn't the moon ball. Yeah,
that was not the moon ball. So it just goes to show that he kind of understands when to put some air under the ball for his receivers and kind of put it out there to let them make a play, and when he needs to deliver the ball to them, and just. Those little things, very, very nice to see. Things I want to see continue for the Steelers. My goodness, you want to talk about continuing to fan the flames? You know what? Let's keep fanning the flames of the special teams play.
I was going to say, let's keep fanning the flames of Mount Washington. You only got the one target, but it
One
was
target,
pretty.
29 yards.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, you brought up play action.
Yes.
And I want to specifically ask your opinion about one specific play that I actually really liked, even though it didn't work out. I mean, it worked out all right, but it didn't fully work out. And that was with the Steelers. What was it? A third. Let me see if I can even find it. To find exactly what it was. When the Steelers had the ball, and it was 3rd and 5 at the Giants' 46 with 2:36 left in the game. And I was covering knee jerk for you, and I'm like, all right, so this is coming out of a timeout. Do you throw for the win, or do you play it safe? I love exactly what the Steelers did. They ran a play action pass. And I love how they trusted Russell Wilson, and he made the right call. Unless he had a very
Open
obvious
person.
read, he was not going to throw that ball.
Yep.
He was only throwing that ball if your next gen stats showed an extremely high probability of completion. If there was any chance it gets knocked down, because that's going to give them the extra time. If there's any chance that someone could intercept it, he's not throwing it. He was willing to take the sack. But he actually
sack.
away and almost got the first down.
Yeah, I was going to say, he actually gained yards. So,
yeah.
I like that too. I think my words to Warren on that one were put the ball in Russ's hands here.
Yeah.
I like that call. That would have been a call where if Justin Fields would have been in the game, I'd have run this. You run the same exact play.
But he wouldn't have even looked to really pass it unless someone was wide open. That would have been like, Justin, you're going to do this and you're going to keep it. Russ kept it because he had to, because the first option was going to be throw it.
Yeah, Fields would have run that. Fields would have run that play and only thrown it if somebody was wide open.
Yes, he would have been thinking, run first, but I'll throw it if I see someone wide open. Where Russ is thinking, I'm looking to throw it if anybody's open, and if not, I'll even just take the sack or then run.
Yep.
It's just, yeah. But you're talking about these things with Russ, like the play action and things like that. I still even think they can effectively use Justin Fields after the bye. I really do. But to me, those little things can create a fraction of a second of hesitation or a few inches of where a defender lines up because of something different. And that could be all the difference in a play being successful or not. So I know some people were poo-pooing the whole idea of why even bother with a Justin Fields package. You know what? Here's a question. Did the Steelers struggle in the red zone because that was going to be their plan in the red zone? And then they didn't have Fields active because of the hamstring and they wanted to play it extra safe. I don't know that that's the case, but I can't say it wasn't.
Right.
So more about fanning the flames. You said the special teams.
Just keep it rolling. Keep the same kind of intensity. Continue to be a positive for this team and not a negative.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I said, I'm fine with neutral special teams.
Yeah.
I really am. But man, it's kind of hard to look at through the first 8 weeks of any team that's really having better special teams than the Steelers. Wonder if Calvin Austin will get special teams player of the week tomorrow. We'll have to see. Let's
get Nick Herbig back and have the 3-headed rotation at outside linebacker.
Yeah.
There's just, what's it going to mean having Cam Sutton back in the mix?
Yeah. I mean, honestly, Beanie Bishop has I don't know if he was feeling the heat. I don't know if it's just that he started to get some confidence as he's taken off. It's not like he had a phenomenal game as much as he did the week before. He had a pretty good game, and he got the interception to close it out. I mean, he's like, if I look at his PFF grade, he had a decent one, not as high as the week before, when he really stood out even more. And because honestly, I didn't see much of Beanie Bishop until that last play. But that's not always necessarily a bad thing either.
Yeah, he wasn't getting picked on like he was there for a little while.
Yeah.
You know.
But Cam Sutton just brings so much versatility. You don't have to put him in the nickel. You could put him at the dime. You could put him, however you're wanting to work him in. It's not like there's one special way that you're going to want to use him, or even that you have to. So, but those are some of those flames that they need to keep going. The Steelers, I mean, they had 4 sacks in this game. But, man, 12 quarterback hits was pretty nice.
Keep getting pressure. Keep going.
Yeah.
So,
in all, you're going to love this. PFF, you might not like their grades, which is fine. Okay? But they also keep their own stats as well. I see why they do what they do, and I always give them a hard time because they don't give half sacks. They'll give 1 sack to 2 people. So it'll look like a team has more sacks than what they actually have, because when you add up the individuals, they don't add up to what there actually were sacks in the game. But they look at sacks, they look at hits, which they had, which is interesting, because they have 12 quarterback hits, which doesn't include the 4 sacks, which I think the other ones did include the 4 sacks. They had even more. Then they had another 15 hurries. They had the Steelers with 31 pressures in this game.
that's a lot of pressure.
31 pressures. Now, one thing that I'd have to look up, but I'm not sure. Do they give multiple? I mean, 2 different people can get a sack on a play. So I'm sure that 2 different people could get a quarterback hit on the same play if they both hit them. And they could get two players having a pressure. Because if not, that meant that Daniel Jones was pressured on 31 out of 38 passes. So I do think they double him up there a little bit. But that was pretty good. The
Steelers still getting pressure, even given the fact that, Jones was throwing the ball extremely quick.
Yeah.
So.
Yep. And they were working. I'm working it smart. They were having 2 or 3 guys when it came to TJ Watt when they knew they were going to be taking a deeper shot. Until the one play where I don't know if they got ahead of themselves, thought they saw a look and they could get the ball out, but nope. You leave TJ Watt one-on-one and you're going to hold the ball more than a really quick delivery, you're going to be in trouble. And it cost them. So, all right, we do have a couple more super chats that I should grab now before I forget. We got Tyler W., $5 in the tip jar. I feel bad taking his money after he got the tickets for last night's game, but that's what he said. He says, thanks for selling me the Giants tickets, Dave. My dad and I celebrated my dad getting out of the hospital. Had a great view of the CA3 touchdown. Yeah, that was coming right at you, wasn't it? No.
Not
that was
right at him.
No, sorry.
It was coming to their end zone.
There was coming to their end zone, his touchdown reception, not the punt return. The punt return was going the other way.
Correct.
But that was Tyler. And thanks for sending me a picture, because that's what I ask when people buy tickets from me. You always send me a picture. Here we go. We've got 10 pounds. It looks like that we got coming here from Urban Wedge. Says, where's the issue on our run D? Giving up big ground plays has been common in recent years. Is it Dunbar play calling? I assume Tomlin calls up front with Austin secondary. Green dot struggles. Tomlin doesn't call the defense play in and play out. He gives inputs of what he wants to see. But there's someone else who is because on every play you have to call exactly what's going on, and that's not Tomlin's responsibility. If he wants something, he'll say it, and then it'll happen. But he's not doing it every time. For some people think that he does, but he doesn't unless it's something really special. Rich, what do you think is going on with the run defense? It's really just about this week because you think about it, it hasn't been an issue otherwise for the most part.
Look, take away the 45-yard touchdown run, and what's the rushing game looking like? Not near as much. And if you look closely on that touchdown run, you had two guys in the middle sit for an extra second, and then basically ran into each other. Mm-hmm. That's why that play was sprung. Anytime, you go back and look at the Steelers plays, anytime a long play happens, something happens in there that's allowed it to take place. And that touchdown run, you had two guys in the middle run into each other. Mm-hmm. It might have been Roberts and Elliott, I believe I think might have been the two guys. You saw them kind of both sit and pause for just a second to see where the runner was going to go. When they realized where he was going to go, they ran into each other and fell down.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and you can look, and they had their nickel defense out there. The Steelers have given up more running plays with their nickel defense than they do with their base. But that's the other thing. When a team goes down 2 touchdowns, and you're talking, it's the fourth quarter, you're looking for them you're defending more against the pass. So that's not an excuse, because you still got to be able to stop the run. I don't care if you're up 40 points with 3 minutes left. Stopping the run is still really important. But
but you should be giving up a 4-yard run, not a 45-yard run.
Exactly. I agree with that. But honestly, no, the run defense that's one of the things I said, especially for the defense, they were not at their best. They were not at their best in that game, and yet they still managed to win. They didn't have a very good run defense. Now, does that mean, but so many people want to look at that and they're like, oh man, now the Steelers are screwed. Look what they're going to do when they have to go against the Ravens and blah, blah, blah. Like, hold the phone. The week before, they gave up 54 yards to a much more established NFL running back. And the week before, they gave up 57. Okay? They gave up more yards in that game than the previous 2 weeks combined. The most they had given up otherwise was 133 to the Colts. And that was, which you're not surprised that the Colts were running a lot. They had a big lead for a while. They were trying to run the clock out so the Steelers couldn't come back and win for the most part. But they were also running effectively. If you just look at the overall things, I can't remember the specifics. That might not even be accurate. So, yeah, that was concerning. But I'm going to say the same thing that I was saying about the Steelers' offense, and particularly Russell Wilson, after the last game. It's a 1-game sample, but 2 is a pattern. You had a rough game against the run. It doesn't mean that, oh man, the Steelers are really in trouble against the run. There might have been a specific game plan that just left them open to those kind of things. Maybe it was they really didn't want to let neighbors be the one that really goes off, and they had a specific plan for that reason. We just don't know. So it's concerning because it didn't work. Didn't do well the last game, but now there's people, because it's all about what have you done for me lately? Oh my, looks like maybe the Steelers need to go out and maybe they should be more worried about the defensive line or something with the defense and the run defense for the trade deadline. Calm down. It's 1 game. We'll see how it goes. Classic overreaction, right? So It's a concern. You note it, but you don't have to overreact. Also, the Steelers did go this game with only 5 defensive linemen.
I noticed you saying that before the game.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, they had as many tight ends as defensive linemen.
Well, Matt Washington
More defensive linemen and tight ends than they had cornerbacks. They only had 4 cornerbacks.
Mount Washington, he's big enough. He could play defensive line.
He can play defensive line. We put him anywhere. So, all right, Rich, fan the Flames. What we're going, I don't know if we'll do this next week. Are there things that the Steelers really need to improve during the bye week? Yeah. There are things to work on. Okay. Red zone efficiency would be nice. Like I said, the run defense after this week, there are plenty of other things there. They can shore up some stuff with their blocking assignments and things on the offensive line. I don't know that Broderick Jones has so much raw physical talent. The problem is if you leave out the word raw and you look at the physical talent, you know that he could just come out there and he could have one of those games where he just dominates. You throw the word raw in there, and you know that he could come out there and have a game that he just completely blazing at. Now, was this his worst game of the season? I don't think so. He had some decent plays in there at times, but his biggest thing is the consistency there.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to say before we get to the end here?
Take
We don't
us
have
to
to
the
preview
end.
a game coming up, so everyone's probably wondering what in the world are we going to talk about with our final question. You still ready to hit it here at the end, Rich?
Yeah, we can still do it.
Okay, and I can
It'll
even
be a
answer
quick
this
one.
one. So remember, we're going to go through these quick, okay? And remember, don't put your answer in until I actually put it in the live chat. And I'm going to answer this one too, because this isn't going to be the same one. We normally do the scores, but here we go. Rich, the Pittsburgh Steelers are 6-2 going into their bye week. They've got 9 games remaining. Now, things could go anyway with those 9 games. Their Steelers are probably going to lose a game you think they could win, and they're going to win games that you think they might lose. There is not a game left that I feel would be crazy if they lost it, because, my goodness, you could even see what the Browns did when you're dealing with divisional games. So, ultimately, it's got to be at least 6, and it can't be any more than 15. At the end, after week 18, how many wins do the Steelers have for the season?
You ready for my answer?
Yes.
Sorry, I'm having fun sitting here. This is comical.
Okay.
There was this big spider on the floor here in the basement.
Uh-oh.
Kyle's trying to hit it with his hybrid golf club. It took him about 45 swings.
45.
So,
Okay.
all right, ready?
You
Here we go.
know
I
better.
know.
You know better, Afton. What are you doing? Come on.
Wow, everybody.
What? I'm putting them all in
1, 2, 3,
timeout.
4, 5.
Timeout.
5 people went. Oh, they were just.
Timeout. Timeout. Even you, Afton. Sorry. Sorry. Everyone that put one in there, you're going in timeout. You can come back in 5 minutes. And hopefully we're still doing this.
All right, ready? Oh,
Okay.
I'm
Rich.
I'm going to stay pretty conservative on this. Okay, I say the Steelers finish the season with 11 wins. I say they go just above 500 to finish out the season. Finish with 11 wins.
Holy cow. I think I just put everyone in timeout. I got no comments left. I don't know. Something just happened with my comments.
Something glitched.
Okay, there we go.
Tyler W. said that Afton led them off a cliff. Yeah. Everybody figured as soon as Afton put hers out there, it was safe.
Every one of you. I'm putting y'all in timeout.
Stop. What are they doing?
I haven't done it. I haven't released the hounds yet.
I know.
My goodness.
But I'm going to attribute it to the fact we're going on a bye week. They've just kind of relaxed a little bit. There comes another one. It's like, what are they doing? Do not put anything out there yet. We haven't opened it up to,
Rich, we're not going to have
live
a
chat.
read.
Yeah. So that'll be fun.
So here we go.
What's your answer? I said 11.
I'm sorry, people putting you in timeout. It's fun. This is all in
Yeah,
fun.
this-
You're not in trouble. But this is pretty funny. Steeler Chick 46 says, "Wow, I joined late and everyone has lost it." I was going to go with 11.
Tyler says we're all hopped up on winning.
Here we go. I was going to probably because I projected 11 wins at the beginning of the season, so that was going to be my. You know what? I'm going to say, even though I projected the Steelers to be 6-2 at the bye when the schedule came out, so they are where I thought they'd be. So I'm going to go,
where I thought they'd be.
I'm going to say, but I feel a little bit better about the team. I'll go 12 just to be different with you. You ready? Yeah. And now
now you can put them out there.
Now I just put the comment.
And look, no, Kathy had to. Yep. Kathy, thank you, Kathy.
You were the winner.
Afton,
jump the gun.
Afton, take lessons from your mother.
Yep, there we go. Oh, we got a bunch of them coming in now.
All right, good.
I'm not going in no timeout. Okay, Kathy for it. 12. Okay. That's the number of wins. If you put a record, obviously it's going to work about this. Oh, hold on, I missed one. Urban Wedge said 10. 10 said, man, going 4-5 over the last 9. Yikes! But here's the thing: they could go 4-5 and still maybe even make the playoffs at 10-7.
Oh, yeah.
We'll have to see how it all plays out. Okay, Brent, he's got him going 12-5. Brent Howe, Thomas Eads, 13.
Nice.
I'm not. I mean. Think about it. If you could take care of business against your AFC North opponents who you're very familiar with, yeah. Okay. Steeler Chick 46 has 12. Let's see. Mean Green has 12 wins. Douglas W. Russell has 12. I think was Douglas the one that I wanted to put in timeout, but because it was Facebook, I couldn't do it. No, that was Chris.
No. Okay.
So yeah, I didn't want to say that before I found out. It would have just deleted them from the whole. Would have banned them for the rest of the show, and I didn't want to do that. Joseph Donovan said 12-5. Tyler W. says 12 wins because he thinks 5 in the division plus 1 more. Okay. Mr. Woodside says 11 wins. I think 11 is really that wheelhouse. That's 5-4 over the last 9. That's a really good realistic expectation with the schedule, but things are pretty good. I mean, you could go either way. Hayden Fox says 11-6, but it's going to be because they upset the Chiefs. I like that one. Gavin Anthony says 11. So we have a bunch of other people that would love to put theirs out there, but they probably still have another minute or 2 of being in timeout. Hopefully they didn't leave. I hope you all realize that was all in good fun to do that just because that we could. See what you started, Afton.
Yes, everybody that is out there in timeout currently, sitting there wondering if they're going to be able to get back into this, just remember, it was Afton's fault.
It was Afton's fault. and you've met Afton in person, so therefore you can pick on her a little bit better than even I could. But she's one of our beloved ones. Mean Green says, do the Steelers get the Chiefs in Acrisure? Yes, they do. On Christmas Day.
Do. On Christmas Day. So you think about that. Both those teams are going to play Saturday before? Yeah.
Yes.
They both are scheduled for Saturday.
It's the same 4 teams that are matched up. It's Steelers, Ravens Saturday. It's Chiefs, Texans Saturday. Then on Christmas Day, it's Steelers, Chiefs, Ravens, Texans.
Okay. What time do the Steelers play that day? What time is that game?
1:00.
Are you kidding me?
Because usually, you can't say that's when God intended football to be played. It's 1:00 on Sunday.
On Sunday, not 1:00 on.
Just blah. I mean, if it was 4:30, I'd have taken it. It would have been okay. But 1:00, especially, I got to do an active list and all that.
Are we doing 2 games that day? Why aren't we doing like 3 and 7?
That's a great question. I don't know if it's NBA. I don't know if it's. I don't know why they went with when they went.
Man. Okay.
Tyler Dubb was talking about where he got put down. He made me really mad. It's funny. There's someone for the last couple weeks, the post-game show, coming in and saying how Russell Wilson is terrible when he's only made like 1 or 2 decent plays in 2 games. And it's really annoying and it's trolling everybody. And I'm like, do I put him in timeout for that? No, but then they use a bad word in the comments, so then they have to go in timeout. I'm trying to stall to give everyone a chance to come back.
It's some point in time you got to just
we're just going to have to get going. So
that's right.
I do want to say something. So we were talking about the Christmas Day game against the Chiefs. So many people were they're so focused on that Chiefs game. Oh, would the Steelers beat the Chiefs? Blah blah blah. Oh, with the Chiefs? Blah 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 blah.
They're out of timeout because BF Bud's back.
That means everyone else should be able to get back. I think he was the last one I did. BF Bud has 11. Afton says thing. You can put your number out there now, Afton.
Yeah,
we'll do it. All of you that were out, we'll take it.
You probably hurt her feelings,
I probably did.
That's right.
But I'm sorry.
You got
one thing I want to say about that game with the Chiefs.
Yep.
It's still too far away to be focusing on everything being about that Chiefs game.
It's no. The only there's one reason only I talk about that Chiefs game. Ready?
We want it till Christmas. Yeah.
Because that is going to come down to how does that game affect me and my day. Yeah. In terms of the Steelers and them getting in there,
Yeah. Like, don't ruin my freaking Christmas.
That's right.
But you know what? I'm just hoping that it doesn't come down that the Steelers have to have that win. That's what I want to see more than anything. That they'll put themselves in a good position, that they don't have to win that game in order to make it. So here we go. We've got Afton with 12. Thomas Riley's got 11. Chris Holman, I don't know if we had him or not, said 14. I don't know if I missed it or not.
No, yep, okay.
Dustin 9 said 13. Afton rules his rules. I don't normally put people in timeout, but when so many people were doing it, that's why we did it. It was fun. Here's a timeout just because someone who keeps trying to troll me constantly, which is dumb. Yeah, let's complain about Mike Tomlin right now with everything going. It's the whole idea of trolling. Where'd it go?
You are, with all due respect, dumb.
Yeah, that's the thing. Just if you want to troll, go somewhere else. Gabriel Golden says 13. And there we go. So,
and I will answer a question from Steeler Chick 46. She said, "What channel is the Casey game on?" That's a Netflix game.
I don't have Netflix. I got to figure that out. That's really dumb.
Come have Christmas dinner at my house.
Yeah. So I got to figure out what I'm doing Netflix wise. That's just kind of stupid. But maybe I can get a free whatever trial. I don't know. I don't need it otherwise. People have said, "Oh, you can use my password." I'm like, if too many people are doing that, it's just I can't bank on it not working. People are like, "Oh, you can find places to stream Steelers games and not have to do something." I'm like, I can't bank on it not working. My job depends on it, so I got to do that. Kathy wants to know, was that an invite for all of us, Rich?
Kathy, you and Afton are definitely invited. So,
yeah. So Tyler wants to know if I already sold Christmas. My tickets are gone, but I actually have a friend who still has their tickets for sale. That's down close to where mine are. It's actually a little bit more in the corner, down in the lower section for Christmas Day. I'd have to check back in with him. So Tyler, reach out to me about that. Oh, we got Mark Tobin coming in with 13. All right, we stalled long enough. We gave you guys lots and lots of time to get into there. But one thing I will say, yes. The Chiefs game on the horizon, to me, yeah, they're the Super Bowl champs. They're the standard that you want to compare yourself to. But at the same time, a lot can change for both of those teams between now and that game.
Yeah, let's
a lot can change.
Let's worry about the Commanders.
Yes,
here in 2 weeks.
Exactly.
Let's get ready for that one, and let's do what we need to do with that one first.
Okay. You could be a team that's getting really healthy. You could be a team that's just decimated by injuries. Either one of the teams is what I'm saying, not just Steelers. So that's why you just don't know how that's going to go. For all you know, a key player on Kansas City could be done for the year in 3 weeks from now. That's the NFL. That's how it works. Yep, you're right. Steelers 46, one game at a time. Make sure you're checking out all our podcasts. Unless it's a podcast specifically about the game, you're still going to get everything from us this week. Also, make sure you're checking out SteelCurtainNetwork.com. We are going to keep bringing you all the content that we can during the bye week. Things aren't going to slow down. It's going to be a little different because we don't have injury reports, stuff like that. So make sure you check that out. I'm not exactly sure when, but we should be pretty close to having the website with the new look to it, which is I'm really looking forward to. Rich, what do you want to say to close us out here tonight?
Oh man, no football this week. Well, no Steeler football this weekend, which to me is almost the same as no football this weekend. So I think I'll probably on Sunday take advantage. I'll probably go sit in a tree in the afternoon and watch for the little furry boogers to run by.
I'll enjoy my extra hour of sleep, and then
Yes.
I'll probably put up Christmas decorations.
Oh no, that's that. Mine will be going up before then. So, but
Sorry.
you know, and I'll listen to and watch and keep track of some other football, but it's just not the same when the Steelers aren't playing. Yeah. But that's okay. The Steelers, you know, last week I really just talked about that they needed to take care of business this past week. Take care of their business, go into their bye so you can enjoy the bye, get healthier, and get prepared and come out of it good on the other side. The Steelers have done what they needed to with that so far. You know, playing out. Took care of business, got the W, 6-2, hit the bye. Now let's get prepared, get healthy, and let's take care of business coming out of the bye. You know, the rest of that's got to play out over the next week and a half or so. But so far, I'm liking where they're at. You know, I'll be on the edge of my seat. You know, keep an eye on if the Steelers decide and make any moves or what's going to happen or who gets healthy or, you know, what's going on. I'll be right there watching. And, you know, although there's no football this week, Dave and I will be right back here next Tuesday night. Can't wait.
You gotta just chill out, man.
Can't wait.